Welcome to the American Academy's Grief Counseling Videogram on problems with support groups. And again, this is based off Wolfert's text, and it is also correlated with the GC 720 course that many of you are taking. What we're going to look at today is why some support groups fail and others succeed. And the primary issue is expectations. Do the expectations meet the members' needs? Is it what they expected it would be? Other times, though, it'll be the expectations are different between what the leader expected and what the group member expected. So the expectations were not the same. The values were not the same. And a lot of this can be diffused simply by laying out expectations on day one. Group rules obviously are essential, but also what do you expect? Some individuals may expect grief to completely go away. Well, that has to be set aside on the first day, that grief is an ongoing process. And this is meant to help you cope better, to find some solutions to help heal, but never forget the grief itself. So what are the expectations of the group members? If those expectations are met, or at least understood, and what you expect your group to achieve and what they expect to achieve comes to a mutual understanding, then the group itself has a much stronger chance of being a success. On your end, there are many elements you can control simply by good planning, good content, good training, co-leadership helping you, being flexible, and then properly screening potential members. This is all in your hands. A lot of poorly planned meetings with poor content and poor leadership fail just based on the group leader. Now, what we're here to assume is, as a group leader, you are successful in terms of planning, supplying content, and engaging with the others. We're also going to hope that you did some proper screening to see who should be in your group and who shouldn't. But despite the best planning, whenever you have a social setting, a social environment, there are going to be disagreements. There are going to be sometimes arguments. There are going to be personalities that don't behave the way we think they should. And it's important to be able to see these problems, to be able to deal with these types of personalities as well, and to diffuse them before they can overcome the meeting itself, to derail the healing process itself. So it's extremely important to be able to diffuse problems, to identify problems, and to be able to know how to deal with these different personalities and the dynamics that they bring to a certain group itself. So what we're going to go through with for the remainder of this video is just look at some of the types of characters that are found in support meetings and a little bit how to deal with them. And Wolfert goes into great detail in his text about these types of personalities and what they do and how to respond to them. So again, I refer you to that, but we're just going to look at a couple of them. We'll first start with what we refer to as an absent member. And this person may be absent mentally and physically. So if they're absent mentally, they're showing up. They're not absent from the location, but they're just not there. They're not paying attention. They're withholding their feelings, and they're not doing any assigned tasks whatsoever. So you might have to deal with that, or someone who refuses to ever show up. So it's important when dealing with this type of person, whether they're absent physically or mentally, on how to try to incorporate them into the group, how to invite them into the group. Maybe it's due to a lack of trust. Maybe it's due to shyness. Sometimes they might need a little bit of one-on-one time with you at the end of a meeting, a little private session where you discuss these issues and ask them why they're being absent and what is bothering them, why they ain't doing the assigned tasks and work, to really figure out what is going on. Maybe gradual integration is the way to go, and not to put them on a spotlight immediately, but you want them to start to open up gradually, but you don't at the same time want to force it. We have other types of groups of individuals, and one of the common ones, which I hope would be pre-screened out, are those who are forced to attend by their family. They don't want to be there. They're just trying to make their family happy, and they show up and they're just there to be there to make others happy. But trying to get them to incorporate and to take value in the group where they don't want to be in is a difficult thing. Trying to get them to do things, to open up, to discuss. Really the only solution is if they refuse on multiple times to try to incorporate them. The best thing to do is to give them the option to leave the group and see how they respond to that, unless they're willing to fulfill what needs to be done. Unfortunately, another type of group are rude members. And there's a variety of rude personalities that we come across. And we can see that in any social setting. Again, we got those who wish to challenge the group leader. They're out to prove you, they're out to either prove themselves or to see if you really know what you're supposed to know. Or they'll just pick at almost little anything that you do. Whether you present the information in a good way, it doesn't matter. Maybe they'll pick on little things that you say that have nothing to do with the information even. Maybe grammatically, they might say, well, you said this wrong, or so forth. And these individuals are really nitpicking and looking to escape their own situation. They're looking to escape talking about grief. And they're also looking to look good amongst the others by challenging. So as a professional, as someone who's educated in the field, just like any teacher-student relationship, it's important that you don't take offense or try to outprove them that you really know. Everyone's there and they're confident in you. The best thing to do is to let them offer these challenges and allow those around you to see really what they're doing. And that's just by pretty much going, okay, that's nice, and then proceeding on and moving forward. And if it continues again after the meeting, it might be wise to have a conversation and ask them, what is really the root cause? What is the root problem? We also have rude members who like to interrupt. They fail to allow others to fully speak, and they feel the need to interrupt, maybe because it's too touching home to them, or they just haven't been taught manners. And many individuals, whether they're grieving or not, there's many individuals that are very impatient with other people, and they feel the need to interrupt because they want to be heard. And that's just something in human nature. It's very important when dealing with them is to remind them of what the rules are. And on the first day, rules should have been set. And one of them is to allow people their time without interruption to speak. And that's something you have to call out on the spot. You don't want to call it out in a way that is truly offensive. It will be brought out more in a more diplomatic way, in terms of just reminding the individual that everyone has a time to speak. You will too, but we have to obey the meeting's rules that we set forth and all agreed to follow. Another type of person within a group that is kind of rude are those who like to blame others. Sometimes they're still angry with their grief and they want to blame everyone but themselves in their stories for their issue. And maybe sometimes they might even become angry with others in the group. So we want to help this individual by redirecting them to the real issue. Too many times others are blamed for other people's problems when you have to look at yourself eventually, and then you truly find the healing you need. We have others that make other members of the group very uncomfortable. And this is when we come across what we refer to as experts, preachers, and advice givers. Now, experts aren't looking really to challenge you. They're more so just looking to present information to try to, and they honestly think they're enhancing the group by giving all of the most up-to-date data and information. And in some ways, it's not toxic, but if it's being consistently done to the point that it's distracting and that it is distracting them from their own healing as a defense mechanism, that's when that really needs to be addressed. But one quick way to diffuse it is to thank the individual for the extra information and to let them know that it's very much appreciated, and then throw in that you wish to also know, how do they feel with that? How does it reflect to their feeling on what is going on? A second group is what we refer to as preachers, and not so much in a religious sense, but they just like to talk and talk and talk. And sometimes they go off topic, but they almost like to be heard. And that's the main reason they're there. So sometimes you have to redirect them to stay on topic. And you might also have to remind them that others also have things to share that they might like to do. Many times preachers or some of these types of individuals will use the quote unquote, we feel type statement, saying, well, we feel this and we feel that. It's important within the group dynamic to make sure they understand that they do not represent everyone with that phrase, we. How do you feel, again, is the important thing. You are saying to everyone, we feel. The group leader should instruct this particular type of individual to say, how do you feel? And that can help redirect this. Advice givers also cause multiple problems because many times the advice is not welcome. It might make another person uncomfortable. So advice giving should be, again, something that is found within the rules on day one, where advice is only given if requested. So I think that's important to note. And again, if you lay that down as a rule, it can be reiterated again at the time of the offense itself. Now, unfortunately, sometimes we have religious individuals who want to impose their religious views on other people. Now, it's not bad that they are religious. In some ways, religious coping is very, very healthy. But different individuals have different faith and creeds. And it's important that one individual doesn't try to objectively use their faith as a way to make others conform to it in their grieving process. So this is something that needs to be stated again on day one, that it's okay to have a particular belief. If you're a Christian or a Buddhist, it's okay to have a particular belief. If you're an atheist, it's okay to have a particular world view. What helps you cope is important, and you're more than welcome to discuss it, but you cannot ultimately say this is the only way to heal, and you must accept this particular religious creed in your healing process. And that is something that could really derail a group very, very quickly. We also have individuals who come to socialize. Again, that's a defense mechanism in many ways, and they come to talk and meet other people instead of dealing with the grief work itself. So again, similar to those who like to preach and talk and go off topic, it's important to try to keep this person focused, redirect them to themselves and what they're feeling, and help them to experience that instead of looking for other things and people to talk about or to. Now, as the group leader, you determine in many ways whether if the group will meet its goals, if the group will fulfill its obligations through good content, good planning, professionalism. And it will also ensure that individuals abide by it. We've looked over a variety of individuals who can derail that process just by their personality. Some of them are quite innocent and not knowing what they're doing. So it's up to you as a professional to maintain the topics and to enforce the rules. So by maintaining topics, you keep the flow and the agenda going. And by maintaining the rules and implementing the rules, you make sure individuals with their own personalities do not derail the entire process itself. So as a leader and with your co-leader, it is very important to establish yourself in that regard. We offer here at the American Academy of Grief Counseling a grief counseling certification. This certification is an open door into later earning this particular certification, which is a group grief support leader. Our number is 330-652-7776, and our email is info@aihcp.org. A lot of information, again, comes from Alan Wolfert's text, which also correlates with our course GC 720. I'd like to thank you for listening and have a good day.